Hey folks, Steve here with another Highway to the Kremlin video. In this video, we're going to be looking at turn 3 of the scenario, or the third turn, I should say. If this were the campaign game, this would be the 15th turn. Um, and really, we're kind of plodding along here. So far, the Russians have kind of, continually retreated. The fights have been relatively tame affairs, a lot of meeting engagement type battles, um, waiting for the right conditions to kind of have a big pitched battle, I guess, is the thinking here. And while I'll just adjust it there, so there a little bit. Um, while the French have certainly advanced, they've got a couple of issues. One here, which I'm updating from the end of the last video, that is the French artillery under a major general that we had to drop off when Napoleon pursued Kutuzov. So dishing out some damage. The French are still a little behind the curve on losses. They'd like to have a big upset somewhere. But really, we're just seeing sort of the situation continue to advance here as we're reaching the last major supply depot areas, eligible areas before we get to Moscow. And for a look at distance here, adjusting the camera, pain in the butt. We're not that many hexes away from, Moscow is in sight, sort of. We've got to get through a lot of Russians and still some depot garrisons before we're really on the approach to Moscow itself. And so right now, the Paris morale track is still at +1. Nothing has really occurred here that would majorly shift morale, and it's really just fighting it all out, I guess. And really, we're focused on um, losses and the comparison of losses. And if the French can get into Moscow, hey, that would be fantastic. That'd be great. I'm not sure that's going to be what occurs here. Um, so very quickly, just looking at things, the on the map at the moment, it is going to be the Russian sort of command segment. Um, this may be a very quick turn. It's really a question of, do the Russians decide to attack the French while they're spread out and hope that the French miss their initiative checks to kind of form up and support one another. The Russians are really not in a great position to try to like come through here and attack, that artillery. And if they did, Napoleon could probably, run in to support that artillery. So it's about, do we try to focus on Murat or Napoleon and try to knock something down enough that we have a big, a big a big victory. Now, here's one advantage to the Russians right now. Last turn, when the Russians lost a strength point, they lost it off the garrison that had been hanging out with Kutuzov. And at the moment, if I read my stuff correctly, um, and I think I am, it is going to be conceivable for Kutuzov to grab some of the forces from Barclay's stack as a combined effort attack. So they have 3 movement commands. What we could choose to do is move a force and move some of Barclay's force around and have Kutuzov use that force in a combined attack on, say, Napoleon, do that with artillery, and potentially really put the hurt on Napoleon. So I think that's what we're going to do. Now, just to mention how this would be executed, what we could do is we could send uh, Doktorov out with, or we could change up Barclay's stack to take the artillery and just move adjacent. We could either go, here or, somewhere around here. We could do that, and then have a big combined battle, or move Kutuzov over and have a nice shot at maybe knocking down Napoleon a peg or two, and that would be really beneficial for us. So, um, or what we could do, I guess, is have Kutuzov break off some forces to join Barclay instead, if we thought that would be a better strength point comparison. We just need to keep in mind that if the Russians attack the French here, it's very likely that the French will be able to get Davout in as a forced march reinforcement, or if he fails, maybe Murat as a um, last ditch effort chance, or something like that. Probably not going to see this cavalry have a big factor in, but that's going to be the decision. So I'm going to go and take care of the reorganization and movement, and I'll come back and you'll see kind of how the Russians have arranged themselves either as a possible attack or not. The reason why we don't want to completely abandon our position is we're going to have to be dealing with some supply issues anyway, and I'm going to want to uh, I need to change my supply marker spot, and what I'm probably going to do is put it in Moscow. And for doing that or having to have had to do that, there'll be potentially some attrition issues for the Russians, but we'll work that out. The other thing I need to do, and I should just do right now, is we do need to do weather, and we are officially in September now, so the weather could be worse. So we're going to roll the die, and we're going to see what we get. If the previous roll was a 1, subtract 1. So we have a -1 of the die roll. And I rolled a 4, so -1 is 3. In September is actually fair weather. So all of this strife with the mud has dried out, and it's fair weather, which has implications for artillery. So this might actually be the Russians' great opportunity, because they have actually a decent amount of artillery that they could hurt the French a bit before the combat occurs. So this could be a really big turn for Russia. Again, I'm gonna mess with the organizational displays. We're gonna do some marching. I'll show that, and then we'll talk about the French response for forced march attempts. Okay, here we are after the Russian movement. Honestly, I guess there's one more I didn't check. Okay. No, he doesn't activate. Yeah, neither do they. Okay. So all the action's happening here. So we have an opportunity, and so I used the 3 Russian activations. One, Barclay, a subset of his force, is moving to engage Murat, and we moved basically Doktorov with the Russian artillery into this hex, and we moved Kutuzov here to join with them on an attack. And just as it stands right now, that forest might become a bit of a problem for Napoleon, especially because Woods defending in infantry and cav are halved, which I don't know that I understand, because I feel like you should get some kind of defensive bonus, but I don't know. Maybe at this scale, it's more disruptive to the organization of the group. So we have 2 different, possible attacks that are going to take place. Independent commands, Barclay, now without artillery, attacking Murat's corps that does have infantry, it's not all cavalry. And then Kutuzov with reinforcements from Barclay's force and the Russian artillery train attacking Napoleon himself, potentially in a weakened position in the woods. Aha. And the artillery will be especially effective in the terrain. So we have a challenge, for ourselves effectively. So we will need to, as the French, decide what we want to do about this. Ultimately, I chose not to change out the Russian supply spot, because we were hoping to actually push the French back or put them in a bad situation and kind of go from there. And so there's a lot of potential things that could happen over these next couple of turns, I think, but this could be a very critical situation. So now we're going to jump right into the forced march for the French. So what do? Well, Davu is not being directly attacked or assaulted, um, which means he's kind of free floating. Uh, but I am wondering if we might not have a better chance. So Murat's only got 4 strength points. He is certainly weaker of the two, of Davu and Murat, but we could try to move Davu into the force. Certainly possible, and could maybe achieve some level of victory. Alternatively, we could try to get, and he's free floating. Keep in mind, we alternatively could have Napoleon try to disengage from Kutuzov, swing around and occupy Murat's hex, maybe even picking up the the artillery along the way, and have ourselves a sort of switcheroo situation if Napoleon can get away. And if there's any leader that's capable of doing this, it would be Napoleon. The only trick will be to disengage from Kutuzov is going to be a tight die roll that Napoleon might fail. So we've kind of got 2 different options. One's going to be to simply try with Napoleon. If Napoleon fails, we can try with Davout. Either way, either of those leaders will try to grab the artillery and end up somewhere. Now, what we don't want to have happen is the Russians overrun Murat and be operating back here, and these guys now in a spot where they're going to have a hard time staying in communication. We don't want that. So I'm going to, probably aim to move the French position back and ideally defeat the Russian forces. So we are going to try to pull back with Napoleon. Um, the present fight, as it would happen right now, is probably not good for Napoleon regardless. So Kutuzov having quite a force, actually. It's going to be pretty nasty. Three, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 8, 12, 14 strength points from the Russians here, not counting what will go on with artillery against just 11. So yeah, not a great position for Napoleon to find himself in, and even that 11 will be half. So we need to get Napoleon out of there um, ASAP is going to be the reality. I think no matter what, even if we were to not try to reinforce Murat, we need to get Napoleon out and someplace else effectively. So we're going to have to roll. Now, the differential for the initiatives, so keeping in mind that the moving player's initiative is 5 compared to the 4 of Kutuzov is a 1. So there's a +1 to our die roll. We don't need much to get away, so this should be reasonably painless. And yeah, it is. Okay, so Napoleon gets away. 2 + 1 is 3. So he's able to get out. And what we're going to try to do here is go 1, 2, I think is going to be the thing. Or maybe what we would need to do is pick up the artillery. In terms of my command span, I have 6, 7, 8, 9. So I may need to drop some guys off for this to work the way that I really am going to need it to all work out, because Murat is going to be 3 subordinate points. So already we're going to have to be a little funky. I think what we'll do is oh man, this is tough. Okay, we're gonna we'll move one here, we're going to drop off a combat unit, one of our 2 strength, the Junot unit that's with Napoleon. We're going to drop him off with Davout, actually, um, which will fit in Davout's stack just fine. And then that will loosen up the command span of Napoleon to come here and let's see. Sorry, guys, I had to validate. I can't pick up this force, unfortunately. So we're having to simply move him to this location, basically. So that'll be 1, 2. And then the alternative would be trying to say that that unit is a part of Murat's stack, but that would be a separate die roll we'd have to make for Murat. But we can get away. We can end here. We did drop 2 strength points off with Davout, but we have to do attrition for the whole stack. So that would end up being 6, 11. We moved just 2 movement points, and the weather actually doesn't hurt us, so that's great. It's just +1 to the die roll. Oh, that's a little high. We do actually take some attrition, and we'll lose it off Eugene's force. So that's too bad. That's another loss for the French due to attrition. So Napoleon getting away was good, but not the way that we really needed. Eesh. And then we're going to try to activate with Murat, and we got it, because what we want to do is say that this force was part of a multi-hex force, I believe, and pull the artillery into the hex. So once again, just maybe the order doesn't matter as much, but if we said we activated Murat, he pulls this guy in, and then Napoleon had pulled away and also ended up here. Now they can all be commanded. It's just that the degree to which they're being commanded is the tricky part here, and I'm wondering when the consolidation actually takes place. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we can all join in this singular hex here, because there's not a consolidation phase until later. So it doesn't really matter how we did it, other than we did it. So this guy's really not in a Zoc any longer. And Davout's been reinforced a bit. Technically, we would say actually that Junot had a major general. That by the time it matters, so he'd be sitting here with a major general with Junot. But honestly, I'm not going to go to that fiddliness. He's going to consolidate with Davout here in a second. So, okay, so now we've formed up, and there is now going to be combat, and it's now probably not to the favor of the Russians for a couple of reasons. So there's a river here, and if we look at the terrain chart, let's see. I guess I need to see if is it affecting or not. Is that a major river or not? is not a major river, secondary river. Uh, affecting, it is affecting terrain. Times 2 pursuit losses if retreated through, which that won't really be the case, and a counterattack is not required across. So kind of a tough thing either way. Um, so yeah, if what we're looking at here is this attack, then this might not be to the particular advantage of Barclay here. He might actually be in trouble. The only thing that helps him is his bonus that he can manipulate. So let's get this under wraps. Yeah. So the way that this is going to end up working. So we look at we'll look at Barclay de Tolly's setup here. He's got 6 strength points with himself, and Platov adds another 4. So the Russians have 10 strength points. They will be attacking, unfortunately for them. Let's see, 3, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 strength points. So an awfully even roll there, all things considered. Make sure I'm getting this right, because this will be an important battle either way we look at it. 10, yeah. 10 against 10. Not counting artillery strength points for that calculation. So 10 on 10. And because the river makes this well, it's a minor river, I guess. Let's see if the Russians have to conduct this combat, because it's going to be an important bit here if we can hold off on it. I'm not seeing anything that says that they can ignore it. So maybe at some point we should have tried to destroy the bridge or done something like that. I'm not sure how much I can do. Yeah. All right. Well, that's fine. We're gonna see what happens here. So because the river is affecting terrain that is treated like um, a worse table, as if it were being 1 to 2, and we'll run through this, just as diligently. So the attacking force, we have the defending force, um, whose Zocs they are in. We need to pick our battle markers. This is one where I'm gonna say again, I think the French would take a pitched battle here, just because they have certain advantages in play to be able to do this. The cavalry differential we'll need to determine here. So um, the French have 1, 2, 3 strength points of cavalry. The Russians have 2 strength points of cavalry. So 3 to 2, but I don't think that's enough for a clear benefit, unfortunately. Yeah, if either has 3 strength points or greater cavalry advantage, the advantage is only 1. So that won't really change a whole lot. But the French do have artillery here. Now, granted, it's just a 1. But we get a -1 to the die roll because of Napoleon's leadership. So, and it's fair weather. So this could actually get us a hit. That would be appreciated if we could get it, which would make this an even better. One hit would actually make a huge difference. So a 1 or a 2, and we got a 1. So we actually do a step loss to the Russians. Wow, that's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. Um, Okay, so Barclay loses a step. He is now down to 9 against 10, and that's actually going to be really important um, for this. Uh, because they're not going to do terribly well, I don't think. Now it is 9 to 10, which is 1 to 2, and again we're on the affecting table, which means all of these results are going to be bad, basically for the for for the Russians. There's no getting around it. And uh, well, they rolled okay, but I don't think this is actually going to help them out. A 2-1 result. So this retreat, there's only a number of hexes, so they need to retreat 2 hexes. 1, 2, and then we've got to lose 1 strength point from Napoleon's stack, and that's fine. We'll lose it off of one of Murat's units. By the way, there's been not a whole lot of attrition so far, other than the one that Napoleon took a bit ago. We didn't have to lose anything in particular on that one. And let's see. Now the pursuit was 2 hexes, and we're just adding a 1 to our die roll. So if we roll low enough, for the pursuit is for 1 hex. And we'll simply pursue the pursuing force. I think we're not going to be able to bring our artillery, but we can pursue here, which will knock the supply out effectively. At least I think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to have to double check this because technically the supply point has a strength here. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to that. I think they would be overrun and they would be repulsed, and then we'd end up having to stick this guy over like so. So I think that's how that would work. And then we would have the Russians lose yet another step. But only 1 instead of 2. So all things told, the French lost a step and the Russians lost 2. But of course, the French lost 1 on the attrition of the forced march. So again, both sides are kind of attriting at the same level that we see here going on. And, that's kind of it for the moment. This pursuing force, we come in, and that's all she wrote. So we'll remove these guys, and that's it for the moment. So things are starting to come to a head. We're getting close to Borodino, but the French, haven't quite won a decisive victory at this point. It's all very touch and go. Minor battles and attrition and maneuvering and a general pulling back on the field. So interesting to see how this is going. But already that's going to take us to the French turn, and we're going to need to figure out what we want to do here. Now here is where we would have some consolidation. So Murat is with Napoleon. And Napoleon's stacking is maxed out for the moment. Um, but he'll be able to pull up together others here shortly. Um, so yeah, wow, all right, interesting. Not necessarily what the Russians were hoping to have happen. If Napoleon had gotten stuck, that would have been a really interesting fight, and the Russians might have come away. But Napoleon made his die roll and got away, and was able to disengage and kind of shift his position, kind of stole a march on the Russians, and that's how that came out. Now, maybe the Russians might have maybe wanted to try a pitched battle there, but I don't think that's really the goal, or that wouldn't have been the best choice. I don't think. All right, let's do the French side. Okay, so for for the French, this is almost kind of rolling up exactly to where they kind of would wanted to have been, um, almost regardless. And I do wonder, am I gonna push too hard if I try to do this? What's gonna happen? Um, we're gonna use our two movement commands to try to use the Polish force and our basically move our flanks forward. We need to be able to do that. I'm not sure exactly, how I want to do this. I think I would want to send this guy up this way or something. Not 100% sure of that. Uh, and these guys certainly would want to go like one half, one and a half, two and a half, three and a half, four and a half, five and a half, and be up here on a flank. Um, However dangerous that may start to get for attrition purposes. But I would imagine that Napoleon and Davout both will activate. Napoleon can include this major general with the artillery as a multi hex force, and we can certainly pick on somebody. Um, the alternative would then be, maybe we try to use Davout as a part of our force, but we've got to kind of shuffle some things around, basically, if we're going to do that. Um, so we'll need to watch out. I think right now, we could send Davout on a bit of a on a chase here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and be attacking this garrison and sort of force the Russians to make a choice and maybe get surrounded. That's all feasible here. We could opt to do something like that, and then have Napoleon attack Kutuzov and hopefully bust him up. These are the options I see kind of manifesting here. Um, so I'm going to take the French through their movement phase. We'll show the result of that, and then we'll get into whether or not the Russians are going to be able to respond. Now they've not had great initiative die rolls when it counts, so this could be where things get a little tricky for the Russians, and how they're going to be able to operate. And really, they should be looking at consolidating, I think, soon, because there's almost they need to get sorted. They've not really had a good opportunity to do that, and I've not done a very good job with them either. But each of these sides is getting rubbed down to the bone here, without any replacements or reinforcements in a battle scenario like this. What's on the board is what we've got, basically. We're not going to drop a French garrison here because we can count the requisite number of hexes to here to place a depot. So the French, there's basically one depot counter left in the counter tray, and we're going to stick it right there, assuming we get there, and then strike for Moscow itself. So that's where we're headed. Let me go do the French movement. We'll show the aftermath. So here is maybe a really great lesson, as it relates to not dilly-dallying around trying to fight the French, because I looked at the map for a while, counting hexes and movement points and all of that, and it was clear that either the Russians weren't guarding their flank well enough, or they're just clustered too much and they're not thinking big picture. I using my movement commands, I moved the Polish force and our Major General Cavalry into this hex with the idea that we were going to um, hold position, and we basically moved everybody else around into a better configuration here, where um, Davout ran out this way and repulsed the garrison and is now firmly sitting in that hex, which means that for the Russian forces, the two main army bodies that are there are stuck. And they're stuck between a lot of French forces and nothing but rivers around them, that if they get attacked and pursue away, they will cross a river and potentially take more losses, I think. Now look around, they've got a little bit of wiggle room, but if any retreat result is more than a little, basically, um, they don't have a lot of options. So Napoleon has brought Murat and his artillery and a concentrated force against uh, Barclay, with the hope that he can punch him out of the way, or hit him hard enough that he's going to have to retreat over at least one river and suffer even more losses, and really get you know get roughed up, I guess, is the way to think about that. So um, this could be a really important point in the campaign, and this is where the Russians, not the French, may be forced into a pitched battle, like choose pitched battle, because they don't want to run, because running is going to kill them or hurt them very, very badly, and could give a major morale boost to the French by having large enough losses because of the pursuit and retreat over a river. So this is really dangerous. The fact that I got Davout up now in a game with Fog of War, this probably couldn't have happened as easily as it did, because I kind of figured I put enough strength points into this hex that Kutuzov, well, the Russians in general are not going to be able to simply repulse that stack away, that Polish corps. They won't be repulsed. Now, in a game with Fog of War, I wouldn't have been able to do the calculus that I kind of had in mind that it has enabled this position. But so it goes, and so now there is a sort of like pincer move maneuver. If you want to talk about a war maneuver, this is showing the importance of it. The Russians are in a really bad situation. There are French between the main Russian army and Moscow, and they're about to get hit with Napoleon's hammer. So what are the options here as we start looking at the forced march? Well, a couple of things. One, because the Russian supply marker is off map, well, technically it's in Moscow, but it's flipped. Any move that the Russians make are going to be potentially costing them attrition no matter what they do. So already a bad situation if they do a forced march at all. We need to get Kutuzov, we need to get him out of here. Now, there's not really a great way for us to um, operate by entering uh, Barclay's hex. Same problem as before. We're just not organized in a way that really is helpful at the moment, without us trying to do some other activation as best we can. Um, so that's really our trouble here. We're stuck. Uh, so what really can we do? Ay, ay, ay. So we're gonna have to try to move. Well, I think the order's not going to matter here. We're going to try to withdraw entirely with Barclay. Now, unfortunately for us, this is going to be a case where we're going to add 2 to our die roll, and it could mean that we do not activate at all, which we'll see. And yeah, that is the case. So Barclay is stuck. He will face Napoleon one way or the other. Now the question is, can Kutuzov do anything about it? We're going to have to move him no matter what. So we're going to try to roll the die. If we roll a 6, um, this will be very bad. And we rolled a 6. Okay. This is the worst of all outcomes for the Russians. I was thinking this was going to probably be a Russian victory in this battle scenario, but this turn of events might be the problem. So we did roll a 4 for Barclay's die, but the +2 from the initiative comparison locked Barclay in place. Kutuzov just straight up rolled a 6 for his initiative command. They are stuck. They are in really, really bad shape. What this is going to potentially mean is, unless something else happens, we are going to both uh, we are going to really hurt Barclay's stack, and we're going to potentially be in a position where Kutuzov is going to be maybe trapped, or he's going to be stuck trying to, not use primary roads and get the heck out of Dodge, and probably suffer a lot more attrition. Um, as it stands, this is going to be really great for the French, I would think. Now, again, the uh, Russians probably don't have the ability to to run away, because they're gonna. I think no matter which way they retreat, if they retreat more than one hex, they're gonna have to go over a river. So this is kind of one of those do or die moments, and I think the Russians are going to go ahead and try the pitched battle and just see what they can do, if maybe they can force something. The other thing that is possible is in the second round, after a pitched battle occurs, Kutuzov could march to the sound of guns and lend strength and support to Barclay, which is kind of their best option. The other thing we could have maybe tried to do was to have Kutuzov activate and just join Barclay no matter what, and then deal with the aftermath of consolidation. I guess that's something that I could have done earlier, and I just didn't, as I'm trying to figure out the game strategies here. But this is going to be a pitch battle, I think, no matter what. We're going to need this is a do or die moment in the campaign, for sure. Uh, no other way if answer buts. The French don't want to retreat. They need to push this. This is going to be the big battle. So as I look at the situation, this is going to be really interesting to run through. All right, so it's going to be 10-8 out of the gate, but we will have the cavalry differential isn't large enough to make a significant difference at this point, but we will have a an artillery firing, again, just one artillery strength. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Let me double check that. Do we have? Yeah, we do have our artillery. Sorry, I psyched myself out for a second. Um, so we have a -1, and so we would need to roll a 1 or a 2 to get a hit. It would be nice to. We miss with artillery, so that's no good. And honestly, this is a 1-to-1 in non-affecting terrain. I think we're going to go ahead and use Napoleon's -1 here rather than a +1, and we will see what we get. Obviously, this could turn into quite the bloodbath. Okay, so we rolled a 4 - 1 is a 3, so Napoleon's going to lose a step from Eugene's combat unit, and Barclay loses a step. And we're going to get the counterattack. And unfortunately, this is going to be 7-9, which is not great. Yeah, 7-9. Ay, ay, ay. So 1-2 on the non-affecting terrain. Yeah, all right. So 1-2 non-affecting terrain. The Russian counterattack. This could go very poorly if they roll high. Okay, so they actually rolled pretty good. And they have a leader here too, keep in mind. So that's a 2 minus 1 is 1, so a interesting. So the Russians lose 1, and the French lose 2. So Eugene's combat unit is gone forever, and so is LaRose. And so now we get into whether or not there's going to be a second round of combat, because that was one full pitched battle round, right? Both sides did pitched. Technically, the Russians are coming out ahead on this, which is dangerous. Now, what's gonna matter here is the possibility that Kutuzov could march to the sound of guns for the second round. So before we do anything else, we're going to check that. Does Kutuzov join? He has to roll, uh, as good of a roll as he could hope for, and he rolls another 6. All right. So we go all the way back to the we go back to step 1. So we have our attacking force. We're gonna do our artillery again. So this is a chance for the French to catch up here on a 1 or a 2, and they don't get it. Uh-oh. So now the French are attacking again. This is, let's see, 5, 6, 7 now against Barclay's 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1-1, and then the question is it pitched both ways? And I'm going to go ahead and keep it this way, because the Russians can't afford to retreat, or their whole force is going to get eliminated. So the French are going to go. This is still basically 1-1 on non-affecting terrain with a -1 of their die roll. All right, that is actually much better. So that's a 1-2 result. So the French lose a step and will lose some cavalry, I guess. And the Russians have to lose 2 steps. And they're losing units forever. And now will be the French counterattack, or the Russian counterattack, I should say. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This isn't going to be good, guys. 4-6. So 1-2 for the Russians. They do have the -1 for Barclay. This could mean something. And they rolled a 6. -1 is a 5. Is a 2 losses to the Russians. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, looking at the situation, just it's definitely not good. Because it's going to push us into yet another round, but the Russians lose 2, which is now really putting them in a bad space. So now we're going into the third round, which both sides have to pick pursuit, and there's technically a different marker that I need to be showing for this Zoc for the third round. So here's why both of those say pursuit. So in a big combat like this, both sides can use pitch battle twice. Both sides did it both times. So now, no matter who wins this next combat, the final force will need to retreat. And right now, things are not necessarily looking good for the Russians. Going back to round one again, we will have the French fire artillery, and they miss again, so that artillery's not been helping them out much at all. But now we have 5, 6 attacking. Oh, just two, and what that gives us is 3-1 non-affecting terrain, and the French roll, and they get a roll of 3. No, I'm sorry. No, that's a 2 after. Uh, no, I'm sorry. That's a 2. Yeah, 2. So 3-1, 2. So the French lose a step. So our young guard's getting beat up a little bit here, unfortunately. Starting to run out of forces. And now there is a retreat of 3. And what's going to happen with these guys? Well, this is where the pain comes in terms of retreating. So we've got to do the 3. And there's really no choice here, no matter which way we go. So we're going to have to do, 1, 2, 3, let's say. And we're going to have to check the pursuit. So if we can at least get a couple of pursuit hexes, this will, in effect, double the pursuit losses and maybe eliminate that stack. So the length in retreat hexes was 3, and the differential here is just a +1 to the die roll. So we'll roll here, and that's probably just what we're going to need. So let me double check this here. We're having a look at the game exclusive rules for this about the retreat after combat and retreating over rivers bit here. So the river, the unfrozen river after combat loses double its normal pursuit loss if the pursuit reaches at least as far as that hex adjacent to the river hex side. Yeah, so in effect, what's going to happen here is we did, 1, 2. So what was our result? It was 2 hexes of advance. So, we would have effectively gone, 1, 2. We're going to have to decide if we going to leave behind our artillery, which would be an unfortunate loss, but I'm willing to let that go for the moment. So we go to 2. So that would be 2 losses in the chase, which is enough to eliminate the stack. So this is going to be a couple of important things. So so all things told, that is definitely enough losses. So we're going to take him off the map for just a moment. Well, I guess I'll leave him here just so we can continue to track this. So the total number of losses there, when we really look at it, it's pretty bloody. we went from 10 to 5 as the French, and we eliminated, I mean, what was that? 8. So that's 3 more. So there's a chance that we are going to win a critical battle, which has not come up before. We need to have at least eliminated 3, which we managed to do. Determine the losses and SPs for both sides after a battle, including pursuit losses. The player winning a battle makes a die roll to determine whether a battle is critical if the losing force loses a total of more than 3 SPs. Well, that's certainly how we lost a lot of things. The winning player then rolls a die. If the die roll is less than or equal to the differential in SPs lost by both sides, the winning player adjusts the morale track in his favor. So we're going to do that. So the differential was 3. So basically, we're going to have to roll a 3 or less for the French. So let's see if we get that. And we got it. So that is a morale increase. So we're now at +2 for morale. And a leader with a command span of 6 or greater, or with a bonus point, is a major personality. The moment a major personality is captured, adjust the morale track 1 space against the owning side. And I believe that is going to apply because I'll double check this here. A leader may be captured under 2 circumstances: when all SPs in the leader's force are removed as a result of combat or pursuit, or when an enemy force, which includes cavalry, enters the hex of a blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Oh, maybe he gets to save here. We got to avoid capture. The owning player must roll a die no higher than the leader's unmodified initiative rating. So let's see if. Nope, he's done. He's captured. We have captured Barclay. So yeah, so we are now at morale +3. But I should mention Napoleon is dangerously undermanned at the moment, and would probably need to rely upon our good buddy Davout to help him. But that's going to take things. I mean, if we want to consolidate, well, there's not much to consolidate at this point. We would put our major cav away, because they are now reporting to our Polish corps, and then everything else is hunky-dory. Yikes-a-bee, guys. That's a huge game shift. So we went from morale 1 to morale 3 because we've effectively destroyed a Russian army and captured the leader. So in hindsight, what could have stopped that? I think if we had chosen pursuit at the outset. So this is the, you got to keep in mind, guys, this is not necessarily optimal play as either side, but I am testing the game system to see how the results go. Maybe even that first combat, it was worthwhile to do a pitched, but the second one maybe we should not have. But what really the problem was when we counterattacked and ate crap as the Russians anyway. I guess if we had initially said no, let's go ahead and retreat, we might have avoided being chased across the river. If we had been chased across the river, we might have only taken 4 strength losses and not the whole stack. That pitched battle is what really shifted it. So I guess in hindsight, we should not have gone pitched battle the second round. We should have maybe cut our losses and said, fair enough, we'll maybe get away with, losing only half our stack rather than the whole stack. So, word of the wise, I think pitched battle is going to be a very rare thing unless you're really willing to go the distance here. Now, Kutuzov still has a pretty large force in the field, but the combined strength of the Davout Corps and the Napoleon Corps will probably render this guy smooshed, I'm sure. Now, granted, Kutuzov could repulse the artillery away, maybe, and then try to make something happen, but that's it's just going to be hard to say what happens next. But that's, gosh darn it, guys, that's turn 3. As we go into turn 4, things are looking grim for the Russians. But lesson learned, right? Learned from this experiment. Maybe we should have just eaten the retreat across the river rather than have the entire army deleted. Had we done better on our die rolls as the Russian, things might have not have been so bad, but we left it up to the dice. The dice decided that the Russians would be punished. Um, so a coup of maneuver and then a poor choice to stand and fight has led to a not good result. Clearly, but it did cost the French a great number, a very large number, in fact, a very large number of uh, strength points. I mean, just burned us down quite a bit. So things could get flipped a little if the Russians can make something happen. We'll see where we get to. So that'll be in the next video when we are doing uh, turn 4. Again, no replacements or reinforcements. So just what's on the map is what's going to happen. We'll see the dramatic conclusion. I think there's an obvious case to be made here that this is going to be a French victory probably at this point now, because well, yeah, I think that's probably just going to be the way this goes due to the morale shifts and the capture of Tatali. But we'll keep playing, and we'll get to at least some ending point that makes sense. And maybe what I'll do is if the French get into Moscow, we'll pretend like it's a campaign game and we'll try out the negotiation table to see what happens. But all that and more in the next one, guys. Take care, keep gaming. See you in the next one.